My friends, my followers, my fans, and yes, there's another F that I normally mention. I don't say my, but the fools, yeah? Thank you very much for tuning in at this time. It's always a pleasure to have you on board, Dominicans, no matter where you are, be it in Dominica or in the region or even further. A pleasant good evening to you, no matter what time of the day in your neck of the wood it is at this time. It's always a pleasure to be with you each and every Saturday from just about that time, 6 o'clock in the evening. That is a commitment that I made with you some time back, and I try very, very best to keep that commitment in terms of having that discussion in terms of our country primarily, how best we together as a people can help in the process of country building. That primarily is what this program is all about. If you know the content of the program, you have been following this program, we try to maintain a certain standard in terms of the information, factual information that goes out from there. We don't go down in the gutter. We try to, as I said, keep the bar at a certain level. And so whatever you get from there, as I normally say sometimes, you can take it to the bank, and yes, they will honor that information that you'll be getting from here. That is how I choose to do it each and every Saturday indeed. Those of you who are already here, thank you very much. I can see the live feed is bubbling at this time. Please share the live as we are moving on. Today being the 26th day of October 2024, and that is where we're about to make a start indeed. Just before I make that all-important start with you guys, let me just clear something out of the way before we start. A number of folks called me earlier on and asked me about a raffle that was supposed to be going on, spearheaded by the United Workers' Party in Dominica. A number of persons bought tickets, and so they wanted to have an idea just when that raffle was to get on the way. Just by me calling before I came on, the secretary of well, not the secretary, the office attendant, because Mr. Nicholas George is the secretary. The office attendant basically confirmed to me that about 5 o'clock this afternoon, that car was raffled, and it went to someone by the name of Mr. Samuel, who live, I believe, in the Stock Farm area. So those of you who have tickets at this time, please take note that the car was raffled this afternoon about 5 o'clock. I think, well, not I think, it was confirmed that MO News carried that raffling live indeed. So those of you who were, sort of wondering what is going on there, that is the situation indeed. Yes, Carol, thank you very much for just reconfirming what I said earlier. But as you know, as I said, a lot of persons called me and asked me, Lofty, what is going on with that car raffle that was supposed to be today, spearheaded by the United Workers' Party. Again, just for confirmation before we move on, that car, it was raffled today, and someone, I believe by the name of Mr. Samuel, walked away with that coveted price of that car that the United Workers' Party had on raffle. Yes? So that is it in terms of information, just to get it off as we're about to start here in just a bit. All right, Dominicans, it is the second night of the World Creole Music Festival. That is a very good income earner for us in Dominica, and that has been so for some time. What we have been seeing of late is that sort of a dwindling, as it were, in terms of not the participation really, but the input from the government side of things in terms of what they normally plug into making that festival happen. So we hope that it stays here with us for a very, very long time indeed. And so those of you who will be partaking, those of you who will participate in tonight's activity, I wish you all the best. Make sure it is violent free, and just go out there and enjoy yourself, The second night, it started last night. Based on reports, it went pretty well, I must say. So tonight promises to be the big night in terms of the center night, that is the Saturday night. Everyone looks forward, or everybody who normally goes to that activity look forward with anticipation to the Saturday night, where a number of big names, big bands are scheduled to perform. And so we just wish you guys a pleasant evening indeed, and enjoy yourselves indeed. Yes. Tomorrow it culminates Sunday night, and so again we want to wish all the goers a pleasant night tomorrow night as well. And when Monday morning comes around, then we will have some good results from this economic earner, primarily, as I said earlier, indeed. Yes, thank you very, very much indeed. Folks, where are we going tonight with tonight's program? I will be giving you guys an update, or we'll be having a discussion on the situation as it relates to the position of the Chief Elections Officer in Dominica. I'll be giving you some information there. Those of you who have been following the political happenings in Dominica and other happenings, by now you ought to know that that position where the chief is concerned, that is the Chief Elections Officer, that is the person basically who manages our elections in Dominica. And that person was Mr. Ian Anthony. He has, as per the Constitution prescribes, he has reached the ripe old age of 55, and so he had to vacate that position. But having vacated that position, there's some information that I want to bring you along those lines. So we'll be having that conversation in a short while indeed. Also too, we are hearing about some pending snap election. And let me be true, let me be true about that, people. I have been hearing that through the mouths and in the circles of primarily some of the opposition forces in Dominica, to tell you the plain truth. And so I think, be true or false, then some people in the opposition circles in Dominica have been, pushing that thing as it relates to possibly a pending another snap election in Dominica. But we will see how that goes, and of course I have some information around that for you, and you will be getting that in just a bit as well. Yes, indeed. Also too, I will be talking to you about this famous house that we come to know in Dominica, dubbed the House of Dark Secrets. That is a big house, a big concrete structure in the center of Roseau, that is the capital. You will want to hear some of what have been picking up that house of dark secrets, indeed, especially the ownership thereof. We also will be talking to you about the situation of what I normally bring to you guys. I'm a patriot of my land, and I see to it in terms of what goes on in my land. And part of that duty of mine is to ensure that properties, especially in and around Roseau, especially those which have been vacant for some time, they have been bought, and there are moves to buy others. I will tell you one such property from a factual standpoint that I got to know was basically bought by a lawyer, and that lawyer is very close to the cabal, so you will want to stay tuned for that in just a bit. Finally, in terms of the preamble, I am getting some information as well that in spite of we are in the smack of the independence celebrations in Dominica, those of you who truly believe in that kind of independence, the man who sits in the chair as Prime Minister is out. Mr. Irvin McIntyre, I'm being told, is the acting Prime Minister, and some tentacles are out there as to the whereabouts first, and also what may be taking place in terms of that trip in particular while she's out. Yes? So we'll keep you informed. Maybe not on this program. As I said, the tentacles are out, but we will keep things in a particular order, most likely in a subsequent program to come. And the big chunk tonight of tonight's discussion is something that I advertised earlier this morning. I got up this morning in a particular mood. And that mood was basically trying to unravel or trying to understand, trying to make sense of just where we are in Dominica as it relates to leadership. Yes, you heard me right. I got up in that mood, it just engulfed me this morning. And I went to do a little research in that department, because leadership in this country, especially from the political front, we are lacking. We're lacking. And so, like other times, I know some people may not like what I have to say, but my back is like one of a dashing leaf, so it just comes on and rolls off. It is what it is. I speak my mind. I give feelings. I give words to my feelings, rather. I give words to what my instinct is telling me. And so sometimes I may speak and, ruffle some feathers in the process. But it doesn't matter to me. Dominica is front and center. And so anything else comes secondary, as it were. And so I usually speak my mind in that department. So the section on not just leadership, but effective leadership, I'll be having some thoughts there on that as to where we are in Dominica in particular. So guys, the program is packed, and so you just sit tight. Whatever you have to do now, please do it now, because I don't think you want to miss a word. You don't want to miss a moment, because you may just be missing a very, very interesting part of the program tonight. Yeah? All right, first and foremost, let me just tell you guys straight off the bat, from a very factual standpoint, those of you guys who know Pottersville very well, so I want to bring you now to Pottersville, yes? There was, okay, Pottersville is large, so let me narrow it down. In the Najiko area, that junction area, that street stretching back to the outgoing bridge. Yeah. I just need you guys to kind of have a mental picture of where I'm going. So hence my directions, because I'll not be calling any names. I thought about it, and I don't want to put anybody in any peculiar position. So I'll not be calling any names, but those of you who live in Dominica, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And as well, it is to save yours truly in terms of any legalities that may be involved in there. So we're at Najiko, this junction right there, this 3-pit intersection. We span back, let's say you go south to the outgoing bridge. That what do you call it? Not the EC, the EC is on the other end, the Western Bridge. That is a bridge this government said that cost 18 million plus. You remember that, people? Some of you tend to forget quickly. And by the stretch of all imagination, all bona fide architects and people involved in that trade that looked at that bridge said, 11, 12 million tops. So as to where that 6, 5, 7 maybe $1 million went, again, it is left to your imagination, and only when this government is out of office, then, certain forensic investigations can go on to find out just where all these extra monies are gone to, indeed. But that day will come indeed. Okay, let's get back. So Najiko, that bridge, outgoing bridge, you're on that little piece of stretch, Malcolm Stephen have his business in that area right there. When you're coming across that street. There was a bread depot, a guy who did local bread in that area. Wood bread. Push it in the oven and pull it out, so almost like that bread. Just preparing for today's program, I asked, because I was a customer, a frequent customer of this brother. And just out of curiosity, I asked the whereabouts of this brother. This brother who used to manage that local bread shop. And to my surprise, I thought he was gone to the great beyond. But to my surprise, I'm being told he's still around, but he lives in the Maho area, up in age, but he cannot run that bakery anymore because of age. And just on a side there, I am always fascinated by certain jobs in Dominica. And that one, in terms of our local bread business, it is one that keeps fascinating me. Whenever I go to these bread depots, I always, bakeries, I always ask these guys questions. How is this? How is that happening? What, and I have this rapport with these brothers. Because I think continuity is key, people. When these guys, these older guys in particular, the good Lord decides to call them home, God forbid, I really don't know what will become of that industry, or that product, as it were. Because we are not seeing young people now, we are not seeing young people, sort of moving in that direction to take up the local trades in Dominica. And so that local bread baking business always fascinates me in that department. So we wish more young guys in particular, young ladies can take it up as well, because that is a very thriving business. Bread, from time immemorial, bread is a choice product for a lot of people, bread. And so if you're in the bread business, once you're doing that business right, you will make money. So I asked about, his whereabouts, is in Maho, and I followed up questions with just what is happening to his property, his business, is anybody taking it up? And to my surprise, confirmed from 3 different people, that this property was bought by a lawyer closely associated with the DLP. Let me repeat. This property in Pottersville, once this bread, bakery, local bread, whatever it is now in the possession, as is on the books, in a lawyer's name in Dominica, closely associated with the, let me say it correctly, because those of you may be listening and looking on from abroad and further afield and tuning in for the first time, may think, well, when I say DLP, that is the bona fide party of old. No. So let me qualify it now. It is the regime that the man who sits in the chair controls today. And so we all know what happens with these scenarios, where you have front men and you have front women fronting for people who are directly involved in the governance of this country. they dare not put their name or names on these transactions, on the certificate of titles, on these MOTs. And so they now have people fronting for them. Lawyers, businessmen, and the list goes on and on. I told you guys some time back about a businessman who, it is said from a factual standpoint, because I spoke to the owner of the property who received that check, where our Maho police station is today. Someone closely connected to the regime came up with a check and bought that property, and today that property, it is being rented out as the police station on the Western District, that is Maho to be precise. So that is not the first time you guys will be hearing that kind of information. And I dare anyone, be it the people's name who are on these MOTs or the certificate titles or whatever it is, to come forth and deny what I am saying. I dare any one of them. So presently, your Maho police station that is supposed to be serving you, that property was sold to someone closely connected to the DLP, the regime, the DLP regime. And that property now, mysteriously now, is being rented out as the police station in the Maho area. So whoever it is that is fronting for the real head honcho in the background, then that person is basically milking your country dry. I saw someone said a while ago on the live feed, corruption on steroids. Well, I think we have passed that stage. And so just like the Maho police station scenario, I am telling you now as a position of fact, a lawyer closely connected with the regime bought this property in Pottersville that was aforementioned. And that lawyer, he is the front man for someone in the cabal. That is as much as I can tell you, and you can take it to the bank, National Bank, Republic Bank, just 2 years, on Monday morning, and you will sure get cash for it. And so this is just one of the latest corrupt activity where a number of properties now, properties that are vacant, properties that people went away and just left, and and some people are in charge. These properties have been bought by people closely connected to the cabal, and they are acting as front men or front women for the real head honchos. Dominicans, Dominica is our country. And if you guys don't know about these real situations in Dominica, then you are missing the map. I saw Celia King ask, while the Maho police station is in a dilapidated state after Maria 7 years, why? She's asking. The former site has not been repaired. Ms. King, there is no reason why the former site should be repaired. Because it is a situation where the cow is being milked. Why should you repair the former police station, which, by the way, I am being told that piece of land is the property of the government and the people of Dominica, where the former police station was. It was given by a businessman, may his soul rest in peace, he has since passed. It was given, donated, that is, to the people of Dominica many, many moons back. And so that police station was erected there. And so that brother maybe now will be turning in his grave to understand what his will, what his intent for the Maho people and surrounding community was, and how the people now of the regime has basically turned it on its head. So, Miss King, that is no new news. A corrupt regime will not look after your interests, will not look after my interests, will not look after the people's interests. All they will be looking after, it is their interests. That is how corrupt people behave. That is part of their DNA. That is part of their characteristics. That's it. So don't expect anything better. But the Dominican people, we continue to slip. We continue to not demand answers from these people. The people who are being served by that police station, by now, having been armed with that information, is supposed to be asking the parliamentary representative for Maho, that is Mr. Kasani, some questions in that department. And so that is what effective leadership is all about, and that is what we'll be coming to later. If you say you are representing people, you have to. It is imperative you look after the interest, the best interest that is, of your people. But if the people are asleep at the wheel, then what else do you expect? And so sometimes I knock this regime, but I have to equally knock the people of Dominica as well. Because for some reason I don't know really and truly what is it that put you guys to sleep. I really don't know. Is it greed? Maybe. Is it jealousy? Maybe. Is it the seeds that we have sown that is bearing fruits now? Is it? And so sometimes people, I really just think to just give up the ghost. Because I really feel like a lone wolf sometime in that department. But the spirit that it is within me, it will not allow me to. And so that is what drives me, that is what keeps me going. Let's move on, people, in the interest of time. Our chief elections officer in Dominica. We have had many of them. Mr. La Rock, Mr. Jared Bitton, just name them. Just name them. No, Mr. Jared Bitton was the chairman of the commission, sir, just to be politically correct. Mr. La Rock, yes, he was one of the chief elections officer and their orders. The last one we had was Mr. Ian Anthony, a gentleman by the name of Ian Anthony. He, I'm being told, is a very upright man, because I like to call a spade a spade. He is not one to mix his words in terms of his job. He is one to stick to the letter and the spirit of the law as it relates to carrying out his functions. And so on that note, I want to publicly thank Mr. Ian Anthony for doing a great service to his country. But the Constitution of Dominica, which we all should abide by in terms of the writings there, it said that once someone in that position, Chief Elections Officer, reaches that age of 55, that person, he or she, needs to go. And as a result, that position becomes vacant and needs to be filled. And so I must tell you, Mr. Ian Anthony, young as he may look, those of you who know him, he has reached that age of 55. Let me just pull that out there. Sometimes you guys see me walk across it, a lot of books, A lot of preparation goes into these programs. So if you have a book like this, it doesn't cost much, $5 in our printry. That is the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica, in that. If you look on page, just now. Okay, previous. Okay, right here. If you look on page 78 of that book, okay, if you look on page 78 of that book, I am going to read one or two sections from there to solidify what I just told you. So page 78, it's entitled The Laws of Dominica, subtitle Constitution of Dominica. On a section there entitled on the side, Chief Elections Officer, page 78, section 87. 87.1 says, the Chief Elections Officer, hereinafter in this section referred to as an officer, shall be appointed by the President, acting after consultation with the Electoral Commission. That's section 1. Section 2 says, if the office of the officer is vacant, or if the holder of that office for any reason that is unable to exercise his or her functions in that office, the president, whoever that president is, acting after consultation with the Electoral Commission, may appoint a person to act as officer. So I read section 1 of 87, section 2. Let's skip down to section 5, which drives home the point that I want to make. It says here, subject to the provisions of subsection 6, of this section, the officer shall vacate his office when he attains the prescribed age. And that prescribed age, people, it tells us here in section 10. It spells it out now. It says the prescribed age, for the purposes of section 5, which I just read a while ago, of this section is the age of 55 years or such other age as may be prescribed by Parliament. So that is the law of Dominica. So whoever is in that position, Chief Elections Officer, once they reach the age of 55, they have to go, as per this. But there's an escape clause. It says here, or such other age as may be prescribed by Parliament now. So we know Parliament now, people, it is where laws, where bills become law, and they form part of this. So it is telling us there, even if someone is 55, Parliament now can meet, can convene, and move that age as to whatever age Parliament deems or feels fit. And so what I'm going to tell you now, it is a position of fact, whereby Ian has reached 55, so that position is vacant. Upon consultation now with the Electoral Commission met and they deliberated, and in their own judgment, they made recommendations to government now, who needs to go to Parliament to move that age from 55 to 65, I'm being told. And their choice, that is the Electoral Commission's choice, it is to have Mr. Ian Anthony continue in that position as Chief Elections Officer for Dominica. Of all the things that this regime normally runs to Parliament to do, including trying to steal elections, they have not seen it fit, upon the recommendation now of the Electoral Commission, headed by Duncan Stowe, to go to Parliament to move the motion, as it were, that that age of 55 be moved from 55 to 65 in order for Mr. Ian Anthony to continue in that position. So as we speak, I am speaking to you now, there is absolutely no one in that position as Chief Elections Officer. Let me repeat that. As we speak, and for some time back, there has been no Chief Elections Officer in that prestigious position. And those of you who were there, you heard me said clearly that the Chief Elections Officer position, it is very crucial in that basically that person, whoever he or she is, it is the person responsible, the manager then, of all elections in Dominica. So let us tie now what we have been hearing and reality, and see if we can make sense out of nonsense. There's no Chief Elections Officer, but we have been hearing, and as I said before, to be true, I've been hearing that from more opposition people than anything. But there's a good old saying, you never see smoke without fire. So not having an elections officer in place to look after the elections whenever they are, we are hearing that there's another move, another illegal move, that is, to pull wool over the people's eye in a very deceptive manner by a thing called a snap election. And so I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking, people. But that, to me, is a recipe for disaster right there. Marshal 55 is still young, yes, but that is what the Constitution says. Yeah? So there has to be now some amendment to that 55 to move it up. So not having a Chief Elections Officer, that position is vacant. And you're now hearing about another scheme to stay on the people's back That is a recipe for disaster. And so, Dominicans, I am making our special appeal to us. I am making now a special appeal to us. Because whatever happens to this country, be it good or bad or in between, we have a stake in this country. And so I am saying, and I'll be saying it in a very categorical manner tonight. Without a chief elections officer, and we're also hearing as well about somebody that the regime is looking at to plug in as chief elections officer, but that person is so red that they are still contemplating it. It's not that they don't want to do it. They are contemplating the pushback from the people. So you have a man who served Dominica as chief elections officer, went over the globe, watch elections, monitor the elections, best practices, and it is really and truly now is in a position to put us on that path where we're supposed to be, where the people have been calling for a freer, fairer, and more transparent process. Not what we have been having. These stealing games, I call it. And by the likes of it, he's being sidelined. And the eyes of the cabal, the eyes of the regime, the rogue regime that is, their eyes, they are set on someone who, if you cut that person's skin, you will not get blood. You will get, not labor. And so in the public domain now, that person, whoever she is, have been heard in the public domain countless times, times without number, her support for the regime. And so it is that person that the same regime is looking now to put up as chief elections officer in Dominica to do what? I guess it is to help continue the stealing legacy of the rogues, I call them rogues, who are in bed with this regime, staying on the people's backs like monkeys and like albatrosses around their necks. And the Dominican people, they are saying in no uncertain terms, they need to breathe. They need something else. They need to exhale. Labor rights, people who are sympathetic to that, whatever it is, they will tell you, Lofty, I'm a labor right, you know, but labor can still stay there as labor. But Roosevelt need to go. We have had enough. They will not come forth like me and tell you that in the public. They will not show their face. They will not let their voices be heard and tell you that. But under their breath, behind the pie card, in the little coin, in the corner, when you meet them privately, they will, you know, rip up their guts and tell you. They will tell you. And so if these people who are sympathetic to that, whatever it is, they are They are now wanting to breathe. That foot politically has been on their necks too long. Then what about the people who are not in that choir? And so I am saying tonight, people, if ever another election, snap or otherwise, will be called in this country, the Commonwealth of Dominica like we know it, and the freeness, the fairness, and the much more transparent process has not been adhered to and articulated on paper in black and white with all the things that we have been talking about. I am saying tonight, there should be no elections in Dominica. Period. Because it cannot be one man and his rogue bunch keep stealing away your livelihood. The time has come, Dominicans, for you to rise, stand erect, and say enough is enough. That is the best way I can tell it to you. So if in 2014, that is 10 years thereabout ago, we heard from the cabal that they would facilitate what we have been clamoring about. Other than putting that process in place, in the interest of us, we heard this famous, we saw this famous or infamous letter or email from none other than a hatchet man. Who was once a supporter. I'm being told from reliable sources, he is not that deep anymore. I guess his conscience is weighing him down now. But this famous email about winning legacy, I call it the stealing legacy, surfaced. And so that process was suppressed. It went to sleep. That's 10 years back. (2019), with promises all along the way. And you guys know how con men and con women behave. They will promise you, promise you, promise you, and promise you. And when come to deliver, they will come with another promise. And that is what we have been getting from this regime. Promises after promises after promises after promises. Failed after failed after failure. And so 2019, I keep saying it was the biggest heist in Dominica's history of an election before everyone's eyes. We remember the planes on the tarmac. We remember the avalanche of people, Dominicans, your relatives, who came from overseas, being paid, being bought, line, hook, and sinker, to come to Dominica to put a government back on your back. And in the very next day, some of them the very same day, because some of them didn't want their boss man or boss woman to miss them from work. So they stole a chance. And they came to Dominica and plugged back a government on your back. And left you in another, well, not even 5 years. Because election as we know it now, it is like a joke, a gimmick. When the Constitution spells out, you have a 4 to 5 year mark to put policies, put the necessary framework in place to help build the people, help build the country. So you have a 4.5, 5 year mark to do that. In the event of natural disasters, you have another 6 months to, put things in place. So you have at least 5.5 years. But it seems now that has deceptively turned on its head. So we had the highest in 2019, which even the observers were caught off guard. Some of them I spoke to, they said, Mr. Dura, we really knew your government was going to steal the election, but we never even fathomed it was in that magnitude. And so they too, some of the people who came here to Dominica and observed the elections said that to yours truly privately. Should I call a name or two? No. So if you think in 2019 was bad, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, 2022, we had another somersaulting of the electoral process by another sham. And the deceptive word was reset or resetting. Jik Jodi, up to date, up to today, well, I can't speak for you. I am still waiting to see the resetting of that economy, as was deceptively said. And so Roosevelt Skerrit knows why, just why. He will go down that road to call an election now every 2 to 2.5 years. He knows jolly well why. You may not know, but he knows. And so if you, the Dominican people, will want a man like Roosevelt Skerrit, as per the mandate by his constitution or the constitution, call an election, and his rogues will continue to deprive you of your livelihood. That is what it boils down to, people. Your livelihood, your very survival. That is what this rogue regime is depriving you of. You know how far some of you / us could be in this country without these very corrupt activities happening? Can you imagine Dominica being handled or being managed by a different bunch that is not self-serving like this? Can you imagine what this land could be? Just close your eyes and think. Just go into the recesses of your heart now and try to ponder and try to understand where your country could be with different people at the helm, with not this selfish and avarice and greedy and evil intentions. I call it as it is, people. Because anytime somebody would want to basically just decide not to let you exercise your rights because of the power or seemingly power that they hold and can exercise, that person is an evil person. So he's not flying on a broom alone that is evil. He's not lighting candle alone that is evil or perceived to be evil. It is people with face like you and I that have what it takes in their hand and can exercise it with an iron fist mentality and can keep you in a certain position. That is evil. So when I call these guys evil, I have reasons to. Nothing short of evil. Whenever the house is prorogued, meaning whoever it is in that chair calls an election, then the responsibility now of basically running the affairs of this country for 30, 60, 90, whatever days during that process, it is whoever sits in the chair of the president. And so, Mrs. Burton, I am now making a special appeal to you. And so those of you who like to cut and paste and doctor and modify and do whatever, please cut out that clip now and send it to Mrs. Burton. That is the person who sits in the chair as the president now. As the president now. There were all these, allegations and innuendos and, talk among you ascending to that position as president. And so I now consider it to just be talk. True or false. And so for the statement I am making now, you are in that position as president of the Commonwealth of Dominica, madam. And that position, it is a very, very taxing position whenever an election is called in Dominica. You are there for your first time, and so you don't know what it is. So it is new grounds. You are going into uncharted grounds now. And so I am just sending a little warning to you, madam. The responsibility will fall on your back, or in your hands, on your chest, wherever you want to take it, to do good by the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica, if ever that election, another snap, is called in Dominica, without the necessaries to have a freer and fairer process. And so people, the president, you are in a position to basically advise. I know you cannot tell, you cannot shout, you can advise. When I sat with you in certain forums back then, you said it clear. President Charles Savret then said it very clear. They cannot mandate, but they can advise. So I'm asking you, my dear lady, please use that good office of yours to advise. To advise. To advise. To advise. To advise. The man who sits in the chair as Prime Minister, that the political temperature in Dominica It is rising, and he can decrease that temperature. Or he can have that temperature be allowed to decrease. And so this idea, this warped idea of thinking, of calling another snap whatever it is, in Dominica, it will not, I repeat, it will not go down well with the people of Dominica. And so that is a very stern warning to you, Madam President. No disrespect, but I have to speak to you as a Dominican, speaking for my rights in this country. So whatever influence, whatever you can do, please do. Because it cannot be, as I said in 2014, promises after promises after promises after promises after promises. The biggest joke, the biggest deception was when Roosevelt and his cabinet gave to Byron three quarters of Dominican dollars. They said it was to facilitate that process. So some Dominicans, hey, clapping. From day one, I had my doubt about that process. Byron, with all respect due to him, he may have meant well for Dominica, because based on what I saw in terms of his writings, his recommendations, he may have meant well. But you know what they say about paying and piper and tune. And so after Dominicans paid 3/4, pretty close to $1 million to see this thing come around, that process was again short-circuited by Roosevelt's spirit, by he not waiting to honor his commitment to the people of Dominica by having Byron's, whatever his recommendations were, to take root and bear fruits. He went single-handedly and short-circuited that process and called an election in 2022, December. And again, after that, still had the unmitigated gall, the bold-facedness to come and tell Dominicans reform will be on the way. And we are even helping Scary spread that propaganda, spread that paranoia thinking of an election, people. There was one songwriter who said and who sang. Basically, I'm not quoting him now, but the people, they are bubbling over. The people, they are starting to, agitate, and whatever it is there is starting to bubble over. And so Roosevelt carried whatever wherever Dominica goes, after, if ever, if, that's a big if, you decide not to take wise counsel and call another snap election on the people of Dominica, where this country ends up, you said in 19, the blood of Dominicans will be on United Workers' Party hands, right? So I am telling you now, the blood of Dominicans will be on your hands. Because you were warned, and it is said to be one is to be forearmed. My last take on that aspect of things is that and that is me speaking now, like I always do. And so that is why I want to hedge my statement now on whoever is in the president's position. Because that person primarily is charged with the responsibility to hold things together when quote-unquote politicians go at each other. When politricksters go at each other. That is a game. And so I hope, for the country's sake and for the peace and security of this land, that this country does not turn into a state that is ungovernable. I pray, I hope not. Again, I want to repeat. I hope this country does not descend into a state that is ungovernable. Whenever another election would be mentioned in terms of date without a freer, fairer, and more transparent process in the interests of the wider Dominican public. That's my final piece on that aspect. And so, Madam President, take note. Take note. Now, let's take a note of the time. 7:15. So we're doing good. 45 more minutes to roll on. Just before I get into the matter that I really want to get into, which is effective leadership. The House of Dark Secrets in Roseau, that has been built for some time now, and just standing there as an elephant in Roseau. I'm being told that there was some kind of back and forth, heated argument between the owner and the proxies. The proxies are basically saying to the owner that, hey, I have held you back for enough time. So you now need to release me so I can continue on my merry way. But like everything that happens in the dark and wants to stay in the dark, the real owner now is adamant that not now. And so keep your eyes and ears glued as to the possibility of something spilling in the public domain where the House of Dark Secret is concerned. Remember each other that. Let's move on. No, I'm drinking something tonight. It's not water. Eh? And please don't ask me. It is just something to deal with the throat. Dominicans, that is where now I want your undivided attention. Because what I'm going to say to you now, or say to us now, it is a very it's going to ruffle some feathers. But as I said, it is what it is. And I choose to dub this session now, this section of this session, effective leadership. Now, for one time, I want to stay away from the policymakers, the government side of things. I am talking now to us in the opposition now. That is where I want to bring home the conversation. So those of you who are akin to the opposition's plight, the opposition's struggle, the road that we are on, now is our time. I see Earl Bruno logged on a while ago. Mr. Bruno, thank you very much for logging in at that time. It applies to you as well, and others. Dominicans, I had time to think about what I'm going to say to us. And before I say things, I normally take time to ponder. Dice it up, mull it up, speed it out, bring it back, chew on it, just play with it. And so this subject has been on my mind for some time now. Because I believe, people, firmly and truly, where we are in Dominica, in terms of the opposition forces in Dominica now, much more could have been gained if we, I include myself, were exhibiting much more qualities of effective leadership. There's leadership. There's leadership. I have to throw up my hand and agree. There is leadership. But as to the effectiveness of that leadership, that is where I want to focus on now. And he who have ears, let him hear. We, in the opposition, we have not been doing some things right. We have not been doing some things right, people. I know what we have in the opposition. When it comes to passion, you have very passionate people. You have that. I give us 150% if there's that scope. There's passion. But in terms of effective leadership, that is the qualifying adjective I want to use. Not just leadership, effective leadership. It calls for something more. So, we have people talking. We have people being very expressive. We have people very emotional. We have people, 24, 25 can talk. One of the criteria for any effective leader, it has to be finding a purpose. And that's where I'm going to start. So if you don't have a purpose to fight for, to live for, and more so die for, you cannot, I repeat, you can be a leader, but you may not be an effective leader. So first and foremost, you have to find your purpose in the scheme of things. So that calls for some sort of internalizing. That calls for some sort of going deep within your soul now. That calls for some sort of introspection. You now have to deal with yourself first. And the ultimate question is, what is my purpose? What is my purpose as a human being? Why did I come? Why am I here? And unless and until you can answer that question and find an answer honestly, you are not making progress. You will not make progress. And so finding one's purpose in life, it is key. You have to have a purpose. Nature speaks to that very clearly. Some of us go through life without ever asking ourselves that ultimate question. What is my purpose in life? What if I wasn't there? What would humanity have lost or would not be privy to? So you have to go deep. And I cannot answer that for you. You have to answer that for yourself. There's a brother, what's his name now? Something Warren. I think it's Rick Warren. I think so. I think it's Rick Warren. Has this book, Finding Your Purpose. It is a very good read, people. Please find a copy. So if you don't have a purpose, if you cannot come up with a purpose for living, and more so, dying, my friend, you can as well forget about it. Because a lot of us think our purpose should be to just live life. I can tell you, the reality will come, or the reality may come, when that purpose of yours will be put to the test, and it may well be death. And you have now, when the tire hits the road, as it were, to take a position. That is how crucial it is. So your purpose is key, people. Your purpose is key. There's much more I can say on purpose, but in the interest of time, let's roll on. I am assuming you would have gone through that process, sit down quietly, in a place of solitude, and you finally found that purpose. Why am I here? That's the ultimate question. out of that purpose now comes a vision. And vision, it is something that one must harness after finding that purpose. You cannot have a purpose and don't have a vision. They are linked. It's like a chain. That is why it is said, all effective leaders, I am saying now, the phrase is all leaders, but I am saying all effective leaders must be visionary in nature. And you can look around us, because there are people who were visionary in nature, and you could see it based on what they brought out. So an effective leader, secondly, must be a visionary person. So when the pack, when the public, when the mass, when the crowd is looking in front of your nose, you have to look down the road as an effective leader. And that is the critical thing now, people. The difference between a leader, an effective one, and a manager. Managers basically deal with the day-to-day, the everyday, the rudiments of what to do, what needs to be done. A leader, an effective one, mentally has already passed that managerial stage. He or she is set on future. So the manager will catch up, but the leader is already there. And that leader having that vision, because the vision basically is having a mental picture, and it is so clear in your mind as to where you want to go, where you want your people to be in whatever space, period of time you're dealing with. That leader has this onerous task now of, after having painted that mental picture in his or her mind, has this task of communicating that to his rest of his team. Some will catch on, some will latch on, some will not. And so those who catch on, you will work with them. Because this here, they are all different. And so everybody will not be on board with you where your vision leads you as a leader. And this vision, people, this mental picture, this mental landscape, it has to be about primarily the betterment or the interest of the people. The people. That's what leadership is all about. It's about leading. L-E-A-D, lead. You have to be able to lead to be a leader, to be in leadership. And you cannot lead, well, you can lead animals, but we are talking realistic now. You only lead people. So if the people is not involved in that mental picture that you have encapsulated in your mind, you are missing the mark. And so that's where most leaders now get sort of, burnt out. They get sort of lost. They get sort of mangled in trying to communicate what they see in that vision, they see in that mental state of theirs, try to pass it down to the people on the ground, so that the people can help them drive it. Because the leader will have that vision. It's the people that has to make it happen. Nothing will come as a result of just the leader. The leader's responsibility is to be upfront. You see goats walking home in the back. Trust me. If you know them very well, you may not know, but there is a leader. Sheep will be walking home from the graze. You will not know, but there is a leader. You will see ants doing their thing up and down in your house. There is a leader. And so nature teaches us about effective leadership. Leadership cannot be all over the place. Leadership cannot be divided. A house divided cannot stand. End of story. Before, the old time days, I'm not that old, I'm not that young, I'm right there in the center. So I can speak to certain things, that has gone before. Before, when our grandparents and forefathers, they used to come together as communities to help build those communities. They call that thing Kudme. And what better way of effective leadership that these men and women demonstrated to us today in the most simple of forms. There would be this stone in the road in the community, blocking the entire community. They cannot move up, they can't move down. And here would be this man, woman would come and assess the situation, see what needs to be done, get that mental picture, where that stone can go, where it cannot go, what can be done, what can we do, and would call the other people of the community together. Anu alefesa. And they would have their wood in their hand and their rod and whatever it is. And all of them would put pressure under that stone with their wood or their what do you call it, the acro or whatever it is. The crowbar. And they would say, 1, 2, hey! And the leader. 1, 2, hey! And before you know it, that stone that was so insurmountable for one person to move, the team now, guided by the leader who is effective in nature, that task would be done. And that is why I said this morning on my post, effective leadership gets the job done. And so you can be a leader and be talking, but an effective leader speaks but gets the job done. And how does he or she get the job done? By not him or herself. It's by the people on the ground. So if we go back in time, apart from nature teaching us about effective leadership, if we go back in time, that some of us we have moved so far away from our forefathers. They showed us how to do things to get the job done. And it is just a matter of, bringing it up to date to speed. Because it is said we are in the technological world. And so we now have to use the technology now to advance our cause like these people did back then. brings me now to the point that I spoke of before about passion. About passion. And I need not stay on that quality too long because it is all around us. We all are very passionate people. But an effective leader as well must be very passionate about whatever was birthed in his memory, whatever was created as the mental picture to get the job done. He has to have a passion. She has to have a passion about it. And so you can see that passion coming through in terms of how that person does what they do. You must see that passion coming through. It cannot be this lukewarm approach and you just go in with the wind and where the wind through you, toss and through. No. Passion demands that you are a go-getter. And once that quality is exhibited, it has a way of latching on and catching on to the people who you are leading. And so pretty soon, it will not, you alone will not be having that passion. You will have a lot of passionate people now helping you push that cause. Push to get that task done. We all right, people? So, let's just recap. We have to have, as a leader, an effective leader, that purpose. Without it, we are stuck. We're like a car without key, a car without petrol. Out of that purpose, a vision must be birthed. Out of that vision, you must have the passion to get it done. And after that vision, then you must now be able to help inspire / mobilize the mass or the masses, the ordinary man. That is the second tier of being passionate. And so if you have that purpose, you have that vision, you have that passion, and you are lacking or you cannot mobilize or inspire people into action, something is fundamental. There's a cog missing. A matter of fact, to be true, once you have those in order, the latter is supposed to be a natural flow. Because if you have passion for something and you cannot communicate that by inspiring and help mobilize the people to get into action to fight the cause, you have lost the battle. Obviously, there are other qualities that will come into context, like I see some people talking about, the morals, the etiquette, that's fine. But trust me, people, purpose, vision, passion, mobilize / inspire. That to me epitomizes what a good leader is or supposed to be. Once you have those locked down, you're right on the way. An effective leader don't have to be the tallest. An effective leader doesn't have to be the most vociferous or loudest. No. And that is where some of us get it wrong. An effective leader doesn't have to be the most intellectually inclined person. No. An effective leader
doesn't necessarily have to have an MBA and PhD and all the letters of the alphabet behind your name. No. These things, if you possess them, they will be like, as I normally say, gravy to that, main appetizer or that main course. But these are sides. These are sides. So because you are the loudest, going, that doesn't mean you are the most effective leader. Somebody says fearless leader. As I said, people, there were some more characteristics that come in between. But if you're a very passionate person about something and you're trying to mobilize and inspire, trust me, fearlessness is a thing of the past. You cannot be passionate about something and be timid in a corner. How are the other people going to feel emboldened, encouraged, get that sense of lion-like mentality to move? It is said, and I truly believe, a lion can lead a pack of sheep, and in due time, that pack of sheep, you know sheep qualities, that pack of sheep will take on the qualities of their leader, which is the lion. We know our lion is very ferocious. Lion sees everything as food. Unlike the contrary, we have a sheep leading a pack of lions. You have untamed energy at the back of you, and you are timid as a sheep. Sooner rather than later, that timidness going to be transferred, inculcated in them. And you're not going to have a pack of lions now with sheep-like behavior, exhibiting sheep-like behavior. So, leadership matters, people. More so, effective leadership matters more. If you have to look in the jungle, in the animal jungle, some people go pick up an elephant to be a leader because it's strong, stumpy. When an elephant walks, the ground is shaking. So if it was for weight and presence and, build, a lion would not cut it. If it was for height and presence again, and you can see from far and people under you, you'd go for something like what? A giraffe. When all these animals I spoke to you there, giraffe, lion, whatever, they see and sense a lion, they cower. They may be tall, they may be big, but they cower because of their inferiority complex. They don't see themselves as leaders. A lion sees itself as, what it is said, the king of the jungle. That name did not come by just for show. A lion sees a giraffe, watch up to the giraffe, but it sees it as meat, as food. A lion sees an elephant, big, broad, stumpy. You'll fight it all day, but it sees food. It is a goat, it is a sheep, it is food. That is the attitude that an effective leader needs to take on. Again, comes back to the point where we made being fearless. And so to come back to our situation in Dominica now, I am prepared to say, I think part of our problem, it is not necessarily the regime, it is us. Because we cannot for the life of me come together and understand what and who we're dealing with and execute a plan, a strategy to get the job done. I'm telling you, when I watch this scenario having played out in Dominica for some time, and it is still playing out in Dominica, I am saying effective leadership, if we had that among us and it was left to be exhibited, to take root, this, whatever it is of this regime, would be a thing of the past. I say it without any reservation. It would be a thing of the past. But when we choose to talk here, pull there, run over there, come back so, talk, hustle, lie, cheat, bring down, pull down, gossip, that one say, that one don't say, that one say, and effective leadership cannot harness all that mess and make it into something that can work. We are doomed and will be doomed for a very long time. And I'm putting myself in the loop. So those of us who have been on that tangent, we know ourselves. I need call no names. Those of us who have been on that tangent, we need to reel it back in. And for Dominica's sake, let us put this little, whatever it is, these side shows, these sides that I spoke of before in terms of not the main course. The main course supposed to be our country. It is at stake. And whatever is left of it, we have to find a way. We have to. It's a must. We cannot continue to let Roosevelt and company bring this country down to its non-existence, as it were. We are part of it as well. And so inasmuch the corrupt practices are exhibited over there, we too, we are doing our own ill practices that is working against the forward movement and forward mobility of us together in unity. And I say it without putting any words in my mouth. It is very, very lamentable, people, where we are as a people. When you compare and contrast what passes for, let me use government for now, and we look at what we have out there in terms of the breath of fresh air, men and women with, just tonight, if the good Lord above give me the almighty power to just go in each community and handpick one person in the communities around Dominica, I will come back. I will come back with a team of men and women based on their demonstrated ways already. And we'll put that country aright tomorrow morning. Take my word for it. And so by the afternoon, the general public will now be reaping the fruits of these men and women. I call them honorable men and women. Men with high honor. Men who will serve women, who will serve with a sense of country at heart. They are all the people. But for some reason, we cannot come together as one and have a conversation among ourselves and put these people together and present these people to the country and say, my fellow men and women, that is our last straw. That's our last boat. If we miss that boat, you know what will become of us. And so my real deep pleadings for Dominica is not that I don't have work to do. It's not that I don't have work to do. I have a lot of work on my hand to do. Matter of fact, I had to hustle this afternoon to come to us. Put down what I had to do, short circuit, whatever. Get myself ready, prepare, research, and come and speak to you. Speak to us. Sometimes it feels like we are on a treadmill. We are moving, but we are going nowhere. We are like a top stuck in mud, just spinning. And eventually that mud will just slow us down and have been slowing us down and sucks out the energy from us, and eventually we will just collapse. That's how it feels sometimes. Dominicans, 6 more minutes. As I said, it will ruffle some feathers, but that is me. Those of you on the feed have this back and forth. You have your unreserved right to say what you want once you're not libeling or slandering or defaming anybody. You have your right. But as I said, those who have ears, let them hear. Because it cannot be, people. It really cannot be. After 20 years of that experiment in 2004, we cannot get it right after 20 years to put back our country right. It is beyond my imagination. I cannot fathom it. I'm telling you. I would want to think, like in life, a mistake was made, give the young man a chance, and that young man has grown into a man. I was going to say something else, but into a man. So he's not a young man anymore. And that man has not pummeled that country where we all thought it could have been. No. On the contrary, on the contrast, we have been reduced to lesser beings in this regional space. I'm living on the world now. I'm living on the globe. You go to St. Lucia, you go to Antigua, you go to Guadeloupe, you go to Marigalat, you go to Vicence, you go to... And most of you will not want to come back. Because why? There's something in these countries that will, sort of jolt you into reality, your reality, Dominica. Folks, we have to get it right. We have to get it right. And I know there are men and women in this country who, once the opportunity affords itself to serve, they will serve all right. But what we have been having during the past 20-something years of back and forth and whatever it is, you know better than me. Our priorities have been mismatched. So what Dominica needs at this hour, people, telling you straight up as I end this program, it is effective leadership. And effective leadership doesn't have to come through one man or one woman. Effective leadership will be much more successful from a group of people, like-minded people, who deliberately will choose to put down all the garbage and whatever it is, put it back and look at country. Unless and until that is done, we ain't getting nowhere. So my job of talking, I know, will be made much more longer. But I hope that my talking, it will fall on some ears, and some people will go to bed tonight and the nights to come and say, you know something, I've been on that road too long. Let me do the 180-degree turn that I need, as the good book says. Turn away from his or her wicked ways. And then, only then, the success, the joy, the reaping, the bountiful harvest, which is what Dominica have produced before and can produce again, will be realized, my friends. My friends, thank you very, very much. I am not one to go past time, and so my time has come and basically gone. Tomorrow, unfortunately so, there will be no Civic Vibes program. We're giving the people a break. It's quote-unquote Independence Time. That is a program we have to have, Are we truly an independent people? But, so we'll be giving you guys a break tomorrow, have fun, family, friends, people who are here, the visitors who are here. Thank you very much for visiting our land, and go back and bring some kind of report, the good, the bad, or the ugly. It is what it is. What you saw, you have to say. And we wish you all the best, and do come back. So there'll be no Civic Vibes tomorrow, and most likely, that's like a 95% sure, because it was discussed and agreed already. We will not be having a Civic Vibes program. And next week Sunday, that is the third holiday again, we're just giving you guys a little break. But it's all good. Our country is supposed to be front and center, and that's where we want to keep it. So Dominicans, until then, whatever is left of your night, my good partner Roy Michael Proctor used to say, be good to yourselves and don't bite the hand that feed you. I normally used to tell Roy, you see that statement? That may bring us in problem in the country, because sometimes you have to not bite, but chop off the hand that feed you if it is feeding you junk. Because junk will eventually kill you anyway. So, be good to yourself, Dominicans, and be good to your fellow men. That's it. Thank you very much for your eyes and ears each and every time. Bye-bye, Dominicans. I love you guys. Okay?
It's 2 minutes past 8, so there'll be no closing number for us tonight. Yeah? So bye-bye. I love you.